My wife's sister lied that I got her pregnant, and my wife and her family believed her instantly. My wife slapped me hard and her brothers beat me up and destroyed my life. I booked a one-way ticket and vanished. A few years later, she finally tracked me down and banged on my door in desperation. The lie that ruined everything. It was a Sunday afternoon when the lie detonated my life. I'd just come back from work, exhausted, smelling faintly of engine oil and sweat, when my wife's family barged into the house like a pack of wolves. Her brothers led the charge, their eyes blazing with fury, her mother already crying fake tears. And my wife, stood in the middle, trembling with rage. Before I could ask what was going on, my wife's sister stepped forward. Tears streamed down her cheeks, but her voice was cold and deliberate. "He got me pregnant," she declared, pointing straight at me. "He forced himself on me when you weren't home. I didn't want to tell you, but I can't hide it anymore." The room spun. My chest tightened. I laughed in disbelief. "What? That's insane. You're lying." But before I could say more, slap. My wife's hand cracked across my face so hard my ears rang. "You disgust me," she spat. "I believed in you and you go after my own sister." I stumbled back, stunned, trying to process, trying to breathe. "I swear to God, I never touched her. This is her brothers didn't give me the chance. They grabbed me by the collar, punched me in the stomach, slammed me against the wall. Furniture crashed. My son screamed in the background. "You're finished," one of them yelled. "You'll never show your face here again." By the time they were done, my ribs ached. My lip bled and my life was shattered. Her father came last, pointing at the door with pure venom. "Get out. You're not a man. You're not family. You're nothing." I looked at my wife one last time. Her face was stone. She didn't flinch. She didn't blink. In that moment, I realized the truth. They had all wanted me gone. The lie was just the excuse. That night, after patching myself up in a cheap motel, I booked a one-way ticket. No note, no goodbye, no fight left in me. I vanished. But what I didn't know was that years later, when they least expected it, the truth would rise again. And when it did, it wouldn't just clear my name. It would destroy theirs. It would destroy theirs. Chapter 2. Vanishing into the shadows, I landed in another city with nothing but a backpack, a bruised face, and a bank account that barely had enough for a month's rent. For the first few weeks, I lived like a ghost. Cheap motel, dead-end jobs, no contact with anyone from my past. But anger is fuel, and I refused to let their lie define me. I picked myself up piece by piece. First, I worked construction, then nights at a warehouse until I scraped enough to pay for certifications. I studied in silence, IT, real estate, and business management. Each step was a brick in the wall I was building between me and the people who had destroyed my life. By year 3, I had my own small company. By year 5, it had grown into a multi-million-dollar firm with international clients. My bruises had faded, but the scar of betrayal burned hotter every time I remembered my wife's slap, her family's mockery, and that false accusation. I told no one where I was. Not my parents, not old friends. I lived clean, careful, invisible, until one evening, 9 years after I had vanished, there was a knock on my door. I opened it and froze. It was her, my ex-wife. Her hair disheveled, her face pale, her eyes ringed with desperation. Behind her stood a little boy and girl, older now, maybe 10 and 7. She clutched the frame like it was the only thing keeping her upright. "Please," she whispered, "I need your help." And in that instant, I knew their perfect little lie had finally imploded. The cracks in her lie. For a long moment, I just stared at her. This was the same woman who had slapped me across the face in front of her family. The same woman who had chosen her sister's lie over 30 years of trust. The same woman who had watched as her brothers beat me and left me for dead. And now she was on my doorstep, trembling, looking like a shadow of herself. I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. "You've got some nerve showing up here. What do you want?" Tears welled in her eyes. But I'd seen those before, back when she used them as weapons. "This isn't for me," she whispered. "It's for them." She motioned to the children. I looked closer. Their clothes were worn, their eyes wide and frightened. Told a story before she even opened her mouth. "They're my sister's kids," she admitted. "She's gone. Cancer and her husband left them. I've been trying to take care of them," but her voice cracked. "Everything fell apart. My family, they don't speak to me anymore. They hate me. After what happened with you, the truth came out, and I cut her off." My voice like steel. "The truth? You mean the lie you happily swallowed whole while they destroyed me? That truth?" She flinched, unable to meet my eyes. "They all turned on me," she whispered. "My parents disowned me. My brothers blamed me. And my sister, well, she died cursing me. I lost everything. The house, the friends, the family name, all gone." I let out a bitter laugh. "So, you came to the man you ruined?" Her eyes filled again, but this time they weren't crocodile tears. She dropped to her knees, her hands shaking. "Please," she begged. "You're the only one who can help. You built something for yourself. I've seen it. I know you're successful now. I don't care about me anymore. But these kids." She glanced back at them. "They don't deserve to suffer for the sins of their mother or mine." The boy looked at me then, his voice small. "Sir," she says, "you're strong, that you don't let bad people win. Can we stay here?" And for the first time in decades, I felt the sting of tears, because the one thing she was right about was this. Those kids didn't deserve the curse of her family's lies. But that didn't mean she'd escape the consequences of what she'd done. The line between justice and mercy. I stood in silence, staring at her crumpled figure on my porch floor. Years of anger coursed through me like a storm. Every sleepless night, every bruise, every word of betrayal when she chose her sister's lies over me. I wanted to slam the door shut, to tell her to take her desperation elsewhere, to let her taste what true abandonment felt like, but then I looked past her at the children. They weren't crying. They weren't begging. They were just waiting. Silent. Wide-eyed. Like kids who had already learned the world was crueler than it should be. And in that moment, my rage bent into something sharper. "I'll help them," I said finally, my voice low and deliberate. "But not you." She froze, lifting her head. "What do you mean?" "You destroyed my life with one slap. One lie you didn't even question. You stood there while they broke me. You let them ruin everything I built. You don't get to ask me for anything now." Her lips trembled, but I cut her off, stepping closer. "These children will have a roof over their heads. They'll eat, they'll go to school, they'll be safe. But you'll work for it. Every dollar I spend on them, you'll pay back. Not with money. With labor, cleaning, cooking, scrubbing floors, if that's what it takes." You wanted to see what it's like to live without trust, without love. Welcome to it. Her shoulders slumped, but she nodded. "I'll do whatever it takes." The boy tugged at my sleeve again, his voice quiet. "Thank you, sir." I put my hand on his head gently, the way I used to do with my own kids before it all fell apart. "Don't thank me yet, son. This isn't over." Because while part of me was ready to shield these children from the sins of their family, the other part of me, the part that had been beaten, humiliated, abandoned, was already planning something else. Something that would finally expose every last one of them for the liars they were. This wasn't just about protecting the kids anymore. It was about revenge, digging up the past. The following days were a blur of silence and planning. My ex-wife kept her head down, scrubbing my floors, folding laundry, and cooking meals like a shadow of the woman who once laughed as her brothers beat me half to death. The children adjusted quickly, as though they'd lived their whole lives waiting for peace. But peace wasn't enough for me. Not yet. Late at night, when the kids were asleep and she was passed out from exhaustion, I sat at my desk with a glass of bourbon and my laptop open. For years, I'd avoided looking back, afraid it would drag me under again. Now, I stared into it like a man staring down an enemy's rifle. I pulled out an old folder from the bottom drawer. Inside were fragments of my ruined past, medical bills from the night I was hospitalized, photos of my bruised ribs, and one faded letter from my lawyer warning me that fighting this case would be futile without family testimony. That was the key. Family testimony. Her family, the ones who had lied, who had stood on the witness stand swearing they'd seen me forcing myself on her sister, who had claimed I admitted to getting her pregnant. Every word had been perjury. Every word had destroyed me. I clenched my fists. Now, with time on my side, I started piecing things together. I called in a favor from an old friend who still worked in the courthouse records office. Within a week, I had certified transcripts of the testimony, and alongside them, I had something new. A hospital DNA record from her sister's pregnancy. The father wasn't me. It wasn't even close. I traced it further. Through careful, quiet digging, I found her sister's old boyfriend from that year. A name I remembered only vaguely, but one that showed up on old social media photos. He had vanished after a drug arrest 2 towns over. Piece by piece, the puzzle built itself. And as it did, I realized something. I wasn't just going to clear my name. I was going to drag theirs through the mud until there was nothing left of their honorable family. The children deserved safety, but their mother and her clan, they deserved ruin. Setting the stage. The next week, I became a ghost with a purpose. By day, I played the role of the quiet man rebuilding his life. By night, I was on my laptop, drafting documents, printing records, and digging into every crack in their armor. First, I gathered allies. My friend in the courthouse connected me to a sharp, no-nonsense attorney who specialized in wrongful conviction and defamation cases. When she saw the transcripts of the perjury, her eyes lit up. "You've been sitting on dynamite for years," she said. "And you're telling me they assaulted you, destroyed your career, and lied under oath? We're not just talking about clearing your name. We're talking about financial devastation, criminal charges, and full custody leverage. Are you ready for this? I didn't hesitate. I've been ready since the night they beat me. Second, I set the bait. I pretended to forgive my ex-wife. I told her I was willing to move forward for the sake of the kids. She wept, hugging me, believing my words. But every smile I gave her was a mask. Because behind her back, I filed the first set of motions: petitions for perjury charges, defamation claims, and damages for assault. Attached were the DNA records proving her sister's pregnancy was never mine, the transcripts of their sworn lies, and a sworn statement from the old boyfriend I had tracked down, who admitted he was the real father. Finally, I prepared the stage for the ultimate reveal. My lawyer suggested a strategy that made me smile. Don't tell them you filed yet. Let the court summons hit during a family gathering somewhere public where the humiliation will cut deepest. So, I waited, and when the invitation arrived for her sister's baby's christening, a grand affair with the whole extended family, I RSVP'd with a polite smile. My ex thought it was a sign of peace. She didn't know it was the beginning of their end. The christening ambush. The church hall was draped in white and gold, filled with flowers, champagne flutes, and laughter. My ex-wife and her family based in their usual smugness, pretending their lies had never destroyed me. I walked in quietly with my daughter, dressed sharply, smiling politely at the people who once spit on my name. My ex's sister, the one who had lied about me being the father of her child, carried her baby proudly with everyone fawning over her. But I wasn't here to admire the decorations. I was here for the show. Halfway through the ceremony, the double doors opened. 2 uniformed officers walked in, flanked by a court clerk. The hall went silent. "Mrs. Thompson, Miss Thompson." The clerk's voice rang out. "You've been served." Gasps filled the air as the clerk handed envelopes thick with legal filings to my ex-wife, her sister, and even her parents. Confusion turned to panic as they tore them open, scanning the words inside. Lawsuit, perjury, defamation, assault, damages. I stepped forward, my voice calm, carrying across the hall. "Funny, isn't it? Years ago, you said I'd lose everything, that I'd crawl away in shame. Yet here I stand, cleared, strong, and with the truth in my hands. And you? You'll face prison, bankruptcy, and the same shame you forced on me." My ex-wife stammered, "You can't do this." I raised my hand. "Oh, but I can. DNA doesn't lie. Court records don't lie. And neither does the audio of your sister bragging about how easy it was to frame me. Shall I play it?" The guests turned, whispering in disgust. Her own brother muttered under his breath, "Is this true?" The perfect family mask was cracking right there in front of everyone. Her sister burst into tears. Her parents looked like they had aged 10 years in an instant. My ex-wife's confident smirk was gone, replaced by pale silence. I leaned down to my daughter who clutched my hand, eyes wide. "Remember this day," I whispered. "This is what happens when lies meet the truth." The christening was over. The humiliation had only just begun. The courtroom reckoning. The courthouse was packed to the brim. Journalists lined the back row, their pens scratching furiously against notepads. My ex-wife, her sister, and her parents sat at the defense table, pale and rigid, whispering to their lawyers like caged animals, waiting for the slaughter. When the judge walked in, silence fell. His gaze moved over the room before landing on me. "Mr. Anderson, you may proceed." I rose slowly, walking to the projector screen in the center of the room. With a single click, the audio file began to play. Her sister's voice filled the chamber, unmistakable and venomous. It was so easy to frame him. Everyone already hated him. My parents believed me instantly, and my sister slapped him without question. "He'll never recover from this." Gasps echoed through the room. My ex-wife buried her face in her hands. Her parents' jaws dropped, their carefully constructed dignity crumbling into dust. I turned back to the judge. For years, I lived in exile. My marriage destroyed, my reputation ruined, my career in ashes, all because of a lie. Today, I'm not here just for compensation. I'm here for justice. The defense lawyer tried to object, sputtering about context, but the judge silenced him with a single glare. Next, I presented the DNA results, proving the sister's child wasn't mine. Then came the police reports about the assault I suffered at the hands of her brothers. Every document stacked neatly into place, building a tower of truth they could never topple. When it was their turn to speak, their excuses sounded pathetic. The sister sobbed, claiming it was just jealousy. My ex-wife insisted she was pressured into believing her. Their parents blamed family honor. The judge wasn't moved. He slammed his gavel. Perjury, defamation, conspiracy, assault. The court rules in favor of the plaintiff. Full damages awarded, including punitive, custody rights restored, and the matter of criminal prosecution will proceed separately. The courtroom erupted in murmurs. Reporters were already rushing to the exits to file their stories. I stood tall, watching as my ex-wife and her family were led out of the courtroom in humiliation. Their empire of lies had collapsed under the weight of a single truth. I felt a small tug at my hand. My daughter looked up at me, her eyes shining with pride. "You won, Daddy." I knelt down, pulling her into a hug. "No, sweetheart, we won because we never stopped believing in the truth." Epilogue. The final undoing one. Their fall. The scandal spread far beyond the courtroom. Newspapers, online forums, even TV talk shows picked up the story. Family convicted after lying about paternity and destroying husband's life. Her sister, once smug about being a victim, was now a pariah. Neighbors whispered, employers rejected her. The father of her child, long gone, never returned. She was left raising him alone under the shadow of her own lies. My ex-wife fared no better. With the court documents public, her credibility evaporated. No one trusted her. Her friends stopped returning calls. Even her own parents, facing financial ruin after paying part of the damages, disowned her. 2. My redemption. Meanwhile, my life rebuilt itself piece by piece. I returned to work, this time with a newfound respect from colleagues who had once doubted me. Opportunities opened, doors that had been shut for years now wide. But the true redemption was at home. My daughter flourished. She wasn't the scared little girl who once saw her father beaten. She was strong, confident, and proud to call me Dad. She often told me, "You never gave up, even when they tried to destroy you. That's why I'll never give up either." 3. The final encounter. Years later, at a quiet cafe, I saw my ex-wife. She looked older, worn down, her arrogance long gone. She tried to speak, but when her eyes met mine, she faltered. The shame was too much. She lowered her head and walked out without saying a word. And that was my real revenge. Not the money, not even the verdict, but watching her live with the weight of her own destruction, knowing she could never undo what she'd done. The lesson: when lies rule, they destroy lives. But when the truth finally arrives, it doesn't just restore, it redeems. I didn't just win in court, I won my life back. And for her, she would forever be remembered not as a wife, a sister, or a daughter, but as the liar who lost everything. Was this revenge perfectly justified? Tell us what you think about this story in the comments below. Like the story. If you think this story is justified, share it with someone who needs this energy and subscribe to Lauren's Story for more jaw-dropping tales of betrayal and justice. Because here, every lie has its reckoning and every betrayal finds its shadow. Stay sharp, stay strong, and stay tuned.